So this is Overcoming Imposter Syndrome. I'm Sam Rafoss from Coach Connect Hub. And this imposter syndrome started out with me not even knowing what it really meant. And I just discovered, years and years ago, as I was mostly helping women, because I've mostly helped women build their either health and wellness businesses, coaching businesses. And it always started with their confidence. That's always where we seem to end up. And as I did more research on it, imposter syndrome kept coming up. And I'm like, okay, well, what is imposter syndrome? And I've got to get the right. Oh, there we go. Okay. Imposter syndrome. With imposter syndrome, there is a few common themes. However, the top three that I found with most of my clients or most of the women that I worked with over the years, the common fears and obstacles that would come up are fear of inadequacy, the comparison trap, and downplaying achievements. So fear of inadequacy, oftentimes women would say to me, I don't know if I can really help my clients. And truly, this is me looking at them kind of in my head going like, what? Like, I've been working with you for how long? And in my estimation and my belief, like, one, you're educated, you're brilliant. I can see why people might come and want your help as a coach, because I think you are really good at what you do. So every time someone would have that fear that they really couldn't stack up, it was puzzling for me. So I wanted to get I wanted to study it more and figure it out. And same with the comparison trap. A lot of coaches, we're life coaches, health coaches, executive coaches, many different types of coaches. And yet here we are going, oh, but look at that coach that does what I do. They're much better than I am. And it just seems to be that feeling. And again, I couldn't understand it. However, I think I had a little bit of it myself when I started out, but then I just really, I stuck to what I was, taught about, how to believe in yourself and different strategies that I'm going to teach you through here. So I guess it didn't stick for me as much because I had mentors and coaches or parents. And those of you that know me and hang around me, that I talk about my parents, Morris and Joyce Rafoss. They were my true mentors, and I better not talk about them much right now because I might have a tear, but they have both passed away. However, I can't say enough about the type of parents I had that always instilled that belief in yourself and have confidence. And then the third, downplay achievements. This is common, not only for the whole population, but it seems to be one of the most common things with coaches is, and you guys know it because I see who's on the screen here, and I know a lot of you, that I know how much education some people have, PhDs, masters, have taken 27 different coaching certifications, have read thousands of books and materials and podcasts. And like, I hang around with people that are like high achievers, yet tend to believe that, when you say anything and you go, oh, you're doing great, or you're really good at what you do, it's like, oh yeah, kind of that humbleness of many coaches that go, oh yeah. And the rest of us on the outside are seeing what we see. So you are in good company if these three top themes for imposter syndrome apply to you. And if you care to do so, you can put in the chat which 1, 2, or 3, which one seems to be what you might struggle with the most. So I'm always curious to know which one you identify with. All right. So who am I? This individual who I have always looked up to and followed and read many of her books. So she's wrote 11 books, poet and civil rights activist. Um, Even she could not escape the nagging doubt that she really didn't earn her accomplishments. And she talked about feeling like a fraud or an imposter. So I got to look at the chat instead of my chat. Oh, Julia's got it. Yes. Maya Angelou is famous for saying, I've run a game on everybody and they're going to find me out. And just to think about that, those of you that follow Maya Angelou, just in one moment, can you think how I always think, really? Like, even she thought that. And when I think 50 honorary awards or more, like doctorates and degrees from different institutions, she would talk about how everybody wants to give me an award, but I don't know that I really deserve it because I just do what I do. And I think as coaches, we tend to be those types of individuals. As coaches, we get into coaching because we want to help others, not necessarily want to have the spotlight shone on ourselves. And I think a few of you, I did a test run of this presentation a couple of weeks ago. I called it something else. I had a whole bunch more material in it, which is what I seem to do. I seem to think I have to put so much material into a presentation because I want to make sure people get value. And then I had it way too jam-packed. I had too much information in it. And I was doing a couple of things that weren't comfortable for me. So I don't know if it was imposter syndrome or just the fact that I would rather shine the light on other people than myself. So I am in my comfort zone here today. Now that I worked on my slides, I worked on what I wanted to have in this presentation, and I do feel much more confident and not so much some of those imposter syndrome feelings. So I'm just going to go through 5 strategies that I think can help. And you all being coaches, you're probably going to think, yeah, I either do this or I know about this. So a lot of it, I might not be telling you anything that is new. However, I know I need reminders. And I'm hoping that some of this will resonate with you guys too. All right. Number 1, self-reflection. This is honestly become daily for me, whether it's a set period of time where I sit and write in my journal, or it's just something that I take a few minutes to think about it, or I go for a walk and I reflect on my day, or I reflect on what I'm doing right now. And in that is not only reflecting on what's past, but reflecting on, okay, what is my intention? What do I want to work on? Whether it's for my clients, whether it's for me and my business, or personally or professionally, what do I need to think about? What do I need to work on? And specifically when it comes to imposter syndrome, if I am having feelings of doubt, because no matter how good we know our material, and oftentimes people will say to me, oh, you know so much about this subject, it's because I wanted to learn about imposter syndrome and I wanted to dive deep into it. And I also wanted to remind myself that when I get away from these practices, that's when I start to doubt myself. So for me, self-reflection is a big part of my daily habits, I should say. I keep going for the wrong button. All right. Positive self-talk. I love who I am, and what I do is often an affirmation that I repeat in my head. And as silly as it sounds, those of us that use affirmations, we've talked about it. I've talked about it in other groups. I'm in a couple masterminds. I am in an accountability group with some women coaches, and we often talk about the power of our self-talk. And in our discussions, sometimes you come to the realization that even though we know we have to do positive self-talk, sometimes we can get stuck in the rut of either the self-sabotage or the self-talk that we're doing for ourselves may not be as positive as we think it is. And as coaches, we are so good at helping our clients do positive self-talk or positive affirmations or visualization, meditation, anything when it comes to being positive with ourselves. However, oftentimes with coaches, if we don't make a certain intention to do this for ourselves, it can get overlooked. And I am just speaking for myself, and also because I hang around other coaches, and because this seems to be a discussion that we have, especially in my women's group. I'm hanging out with a few more men now, especially now that I'm working with Joe. I'm hanging out with more men, but as a rule, I tend to spend most of my time in women's circles, and positive self-talk tends to be one that often we're really good at helping others. We're not as good at doing it for ourselves. Okay. Number 3, seek mentorship. In order to help ourselves with imposter syndrome, mentors, coaches, anyone that we can learn from. And this, I know that I have done this over the years, and even when I necessarily didn't have the budget to hire a coach, or I was starting something new and I wasn't quite sure what to do, there are many individuals, if you look for them, that they just want to help. They just want to help you. You can reach out and have a conversation. You could, of course, you can hire a mentor and a coach, and if that's the right avenue, absolutely, a paid coach or paid mentor can help. However, there are many individuals, and especially, I mean, since this is an Alignable group event, I remember when I came back to Alignable in August of 2022, and I hadn't been on the platform for years. And when I came back and realized that it had significantly changed, that it had really grown from the time that I had checked it out earlier. And when I came on Alignable, I was like many newbies. I was kind of lost. I was like, oh, what's going on here? This is a little bit different. What should I do? All I did do was search for people who looked, I call them the movers and shakers, who seemed to be successful on Alignable, who were ambassadors, who were leading groups, who had good followings, who had good recommendations. Of course, we're all familiar with Sue Brook. So I started attending some of Sue's training, and then I would find out who was at those trainings, and I would connect with them. And then I would reach out and say, can I have a one-to-one with you? And of course, honoring their time. But I would say, what makes you successful on Alignable? What is it that I can do to hurry up or hasten my learning curve, to find out, what do I need to do? And of course, there was a lot of the similar themes. There was, make sure that your profile's filled out. Make sure that you follow Sue's training. If you're up for being an ambassador, become an ambassador, be a group leader, attend events where the people that you want to emulate hang out. So I pass on that same information to coaches I'm working with. And oftentimes I'm working with new coaches, and I just say to new coaches that maybe don't have the budget to hire a coach to help them. So a lot of this work at the beginning, I'm saying, find out the people who are doing what you're doing. Lots of coaches will give you that, whether it's a discovery session or an initial free session, or what, you can use your time wisely and seek help. So I think even those of us here, I can see you. We're all established coaches. Everyone that is here are established or have a long history of expertise, even if you are switching from one career into coaching. Normally you are still taking your expertise and knowledge from that one position into another position, which may be in your coaching. You can still have those transferable skills. So I just tell coaches, use what you already know and then seek out others that you can learn from. So I cannot say enough about the power of the mentors that I've had in my life that help with your fears of inadequacy, the comparison trap. And sometimes a mentor will have that one golden nugget that you need to help you overcome some challenge. Number 4, my favorite, I think out of everything, is for me, I am a lifelong learner. I love to learn. I love to read. I love to watch YouTube. I love to listen to podcasts, Audible, listen to books. I still remember when I was a very young child, and I was born in the city of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. My parents lived 6 kids. There were 6 of us kids. At the time, my dad was a police officer. My mom was a teacher and then stayed home with us kids. And at the time, my dad's dream was always to move back to the family farm. So when I was 6 years old, they moved to the family farm, and we needed to renovate. There was many things that we needed to do. And in this old farmhouse, there was one corner of the house, and I had picked up my dad's love of reading. So my dad always read, and I always seemed to have a book laying around. And I remember I was about 6 or 7, and there was this corner of the house, and my dad was saying to my mom, well, what do you think we should do with this? Like, I don't know about this corner of the house. Should we make it a piano room? And they were talking about different things. And I just looked up at him and I said, Dad, build a library. And my dad built this little library in the corner of the house. And I just remember putting all my books in there. And then as I grew up, my dad and I would basically just house this little library in the corner of the house. So continuous learning for me has just been something not only a hobby, but a passion. And for coaches, continuous learning is one of the strategies that I say to anyone I'm working with that can help you overcome imposter syndrome. Because if you are trying to compare yourself or judge yourself against anyone else, if you are going deep into your subject matter. So as coaches, we tend to, say, hey, I'm a coach, and, you might have 70, 80% of people that you might be trying to help. But if we are, I use the analogy, let me go back. I use the analogy is if there are 100 people in a room, in any room, and you were on the stage and you were speaking to those 100 people, very likely 2 to maybe 5, and 5 is being very generous, might be your exact ideal clients. So there might be, how many of us on the call here today, and if we were in that room of 100, would we be able to articulate who we are and who we coach to the nth degree that those 2 to 5 people could actually say, hey, you know what? Yeah, Mary Pat, I want to hear more about you, and I want to work with you, or at least learn about you. Fred, I know Fred's an executive coach, and would you be able to talk about what you do? And I bet you could. And the reason I'm calling out names is because I know that you guys are really good at what you do from what I know about you. And I've been in groups and I've heard you speak, and I know your depth of wisdom. So by continuously learning and continuously getting deeper and deeper into your craft, it takes away some of that feelings of imposter syndrome. And for my clients, I've shared with them what this form that I give them, and I call it their personal asset list. And I get them to, I've put here on the slides, I've put keep track. But even before they start now keeping track, I always get them to go back. I go back, list your education, any training, any books you've read. It doesn't matter what it is, whatever you have done personally or professionally to improve yourself, list it out. And I do have another form that I'll put in the notes here for you. It's just a Word document that I give my clients, and you can use it or not. This one just looks a little bit prettier here on the slides, but it really is just a way to keep track. And I tell clients, keep track of the hours. So the hours that you took to either go to school or to even do online learning. I know how many of us do online learning, how many books you read. So the time and the money, you add up your money column, you add up your time. And those of you that know Malcolm Gladwell, and he wrote The Outliers, and he talks about 10,000 hours. So I draw the analogy to coaches, that you add up the time and money that you have invested in yourself. And most coaches I work with are absolutely, they're really shocked. Like, they are shocked when I have them add up how much they actually have learned and what they know. And for some of them, it was the turning point. I can think of a couple specific clients. It was the turning point for them in really overcoming their imposter syndrome, because when they added up what they had actually done between education and experience, that they truly had over 10,000 hours or more in their field. So hopefully that makes sense. And before I finish out here, I'll grab that other form, but I only have a few slides left. And going back to my dad, my dad loved Zig Ziglar. Oh my goodness. I have all his books. Dad left them to me, and they're, highlighted, they're written in, they're have his handwriting and his notes in them. But Zig Ziglar, of course, if you're not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you're determined to learn, no one can stop you. And there is nothing more truer in today's day and age, with everything moving so quickly. We are in the age of not only the internet, we are in the age of AI. And many people are still afraid of artificial intelligence, or using, things like Bard or Chat GPT, or just not either shying away from it because they don't really understand what it's doing, or some people are just afraid that it's going to take over the world. And we honestly don't know what will happen in the future. However, right now, I'm just all about, I just want to keep learning it. I want to try it. I want to learn what I can. And of course, with anything, we have to be safe. However, if we're not learning because we're afraid, we're going to get left behind. And as coaches, we're guides. We're guides for people. So hopefully we're all continuing to learn. And the last one, create a supportive network. And I've got Alignable here, and that symbol in the middle is the symbol for Coach Connect Hub, and the E is for Coach Engage, where Joe and I hang out, and where the recordings are hosted on our YouTube channel if you're looking for them. And of course, in person and online, wherever you can find your network. And I've got here, create a supportive network. Like, create your own network, whether that's a small network of people that you can have accountability group with, a mastermind group. So for me, I have different groups. I have supportive groups that are really tight. They're really close to me. We're accountability partners and we hold each other accountable. I have mastermind groups that are really important to me. And then I have the bigger groups where I am a Fowler International Academy professional coach. So I join my Fowler coaches every week. And then I'm in a couple alignable groups. I get different satisfaction, different wisdom, different learning from every group. So that's why I'm saying create a supportive network. You can look for networks that already have existing people, but I always say to people, create whatever you need for yourself. And once again, I'm trying to hit the wrong button. Okay, so to recap, top 3 common themes with coaches: fear of inadequacy, the comparison trap, and we downplay our achievements. And 5 strategies to overcoming: self-reflection, positive self-talk, seek mentorship, continuous learning, and create that supportive network. One of these networks is here. So Coach Connect Club, Club. It's the club. No, the hub. Coach Connect Hub at Coach Engage. We also have a community that Joe and I have started. And if you guys aren't in Coach Engage, the only thing I'm going to ask people is right now, Joe and I are still, again, we're testing our systems too. So this is a free community. And what we're doing right now is we're testing the tech. And thank you to Mary Pat, who came in first on this platform, because I was testing this out and I was able to ask her a couple questions and say, how is that working? Was that working? And that's all I'm doing with Coach Engage right now too, is because it seemed to be working really good. And then now it seems like there's some glitches. So if people haven't joined our free community on Coach Engage, if you feel like testing it out and letting me know if there's any glitches, I'd really be appreciative of that. And the last thing I'm going to talk about as far as networks is local alignable alliance. So if you are in your area and you are not part of a local alliance, which is where we get together in person, and I host a alliance session once a month here in Calgary. And what I'm hearing from people is people like the in-person events. People have, that Zoom fatigue, this online meetings. We go to a lot of them. People are really enjoying the in-person events. So if you are liking what you're doing on Alignable and you're liking getting into different groups and really appreciating the groups that you're in on Alignable, then search for your local alliance if you're not in one yet. And if there isn't one there, I'm sure one is being created, or if you're wanting to be an ambassador, you can check that out too. If you're not sure how to find your local alliance, just, reach out to me. I'm an ambassador and I can put you in the right direction if you haven't found your local alliance, because you will start to find your like-minded individuals in those local alliances too. And to learn more about how I can help you with imposter syndrome or grow your coaching business, just I always say to people, I like getting on the phone with people, whether I can just help you in the moment or not, or have a good tip, and we just have a good conversation. I like just having a conversation with people. And now we are doing the Q&A.